What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to be taking a little bit of a look at some of the last Transformers cards that we're going to be getting in Wave 3 War for Cybertron Siege 1. We are getting extremely close to having analysed every single card in the set. In fact, after today there are only 3 cards, 2 videos, and then that's it. We have looked at literally every single card in the set. I'm a little bit proud of that. And it's also made me super excited for the set. Today we're looking at a couple of cards which are, well, they're not necessarily that linked, but I want to look at them together. So maybe they're not thematically exactly the same, but let's just say they're very specific cards, and they've both got orange icons, so I'm going to allow it. We're going to be looking at Two-Pronged Attack and Squish Them Like Bugs. So starting off with Squish Them Like Bugs, it is an action card. Choose one of your characters. When it does attack damage this turn to an enemy that has fewer stars than it, do 1 damage to each enemy that has fewer stars than your character. Cool. So basically we're looking at big boys here. So let's say for argument's sake you've got something like Ironhide. Captain Ironhide. One of the cards I'm most excited about for Wave 3. Incidentally, yes, I have made a list of the cards I'm most excited for. Yes, I will be sharing it with you pretty much when we get to the release day. That seems like the right way to do it. Captain Ironhide, I'm a fan. He's not the biggest boy ever, but he serves a pretty good example here. So Captain Ironhide is a 9-cost character. So now let's say you're playing against something like Devastator. One of them there are combiners, and Devastator is made up from lots and lots of little bots, half a dozen to be precise. And they're generally 4-star bots. There's 1 5-star bot, but generally we're looking 4-star bots. So we can look at someone like Hook Surgical Engineer, 4-star bot. What that means is that every time you attack with Captain Ironhide, you are going to do 1 damage to each of your opponent's characters. Because they're all 4 or 5 stars, which is less than Captain Ironhide. So you attack one of the Constructicons, and then you're going to do 1 damage to each enemy that has fewer stars. It does not say each other enemy. It says when it does attack damage to an enemy that has fewer stars, do 1 damage to each enemy. So that would include the one you just attacked. Now it does say when it does attack damage. So Captain Ironhide is sitting there, rocking an attack of 5, assuming we're in bot mode. Probably got a weapon. But if your opponent is able to build up their defense, including blue flips, to be more than your attack, including orange flips, assuming you're not using any pierce, this will not activate. It has got to be that you actually do attack damage. Some damage has got to get through. But then you do 1 damage to everything. 1 damage to everything is great. 1 damage to everything is basically like a free armed hovercraft attachment. It's really quite nice. Incidentally, if you are playing Squish 'em Like Bugs with ranged characters, Captain Ironhide, there is no reason to maybe not also play around with armed hovercraft, really get some spreading going on here. Certainly, I'm playing around with Captain Ironhide, and Squish 'em Like Bugs is one that I quite like the look of. So look, when you're playing against your combiners, it's great in the early game. But you see, the second they form up, the second they combine into Devastator or whatever combiner it might be, well, now you're looking at a 25 stars or more bot. Okay, fine, Dreadwing's a bit smaller. But outside of that, but even Dreadwing, to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, it's not exactly some tiny little 4-star bot. We're still looking at a 16-star character. So when they form up and combine, you're in for a bad time. But if we stay on our Captain Ironhide example, what happens when you come across something like General Megatron? Because you see, General Megatron is not a 9-star character. General Megatron is sitting there as a 13-star character. So you're not doing that against him. So if you're playing something like General Megatron, yes, Squish 'em Like Bugs is probably going to be good. Maybe Metroplex, which also incidentally does have, if you can get the skill going, a skill which can spread damage around to all of your opponent's characters. So something like General Megatron here, it's going to work really nicely. Unless you're against a combiner, you're good. Something like Captain Ironhide can get a lot of mileage against your combiners, but significantly less mileage against some of the bigger characters in the game. Having said that, let's take the winning deck from Origins, Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend. Okay, we got a 13-star character. Oh, he's really big. I'm not going to be able to do a huge amount to that, and even if I do, Squish 'em Like Bugs won't come in. Oh, wait a second. Wasn't every deck playing it with Flame War, which is a 5-star character? Yes. Yes, they were, and then another small bot on the side as well. So actually, here, fine. Just don't attack Optimus Prime, and you'll get the damage through, including getting a damage on Optimus. The second card I want to look at today is Two-Pronged Attack. It is an action card, and it reads, choose one of your characters. If it's a tank, your opponent chooses 2 cards from their hand and scraps them. If it's a plane, your opponent chooses one of their characters and does 2 damage to it. This should remind most of you of Team Up Tactics. This was a previous card we got that was a little bit like this. Team Up Tactics let you choose either a car or a truck. And then if it was a truck, you repair 2 damage. If it's a car, you draw 2 cards. We did then actually in Wave 2 get Autobot Nova Star, which was both a truck and a car. Does that mean that we're going to be getting a tank plane? I'd like to think so. Now, as soon as I said that, a bunch of you probably went, Wossy, Blitzwing. Yes. But you see, Blitzwing is either a tank or a plane. He ain't no tank plane. Whereas Autobot Nova Star is a car truck. Frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I want me a tank plane. No, I'm not counting Blitzwing. So is this card any good? Well, in terms of damage, you're playing planes, you get to go, hey look, I've got a plane. You take 2 damage to one of your characters. And on the one hand, this is kind of good, but on the other hand, we've got Plasma Burst. And Plasma Burst does 2 damage and you get to decide where it goes. But it has no battle icon. So essentially your choices are Zap, you get to do 1 damage anywhere and you get the orange icon, or Plasma Burst, you do 2 damage anywhere but you don't get the icon. The thing is, when you let your opponent choose, things could go wrong. You know that Captain Ironhide I mentioned earlier? Well, you see, the problem is, he cannot take non-attack damage from your opponent's cards in ult mode. Which means that if you've got Captain Ironhide in ult mode and your opponent plays this, you just go, I'll take the damage to Ironhide. But then you don't take the damage. Incidentally, it has been ruled in the rules roundup on a bunch of different cards. This is how it works. So you can just say, okay, I choose to take the damage on Ironhide. Ah, he can't take it. Gutted. Or, for instance, if you've got Motormaster out, and Motormaster was featured in one of the top 8 decks at Origins a couple of weeks back, Motormaster says your other characters cannot take non-attack damage from your opponent's cards. So, okay, Motormaster can take the damage. So, as long as you've not only got Motormaster out, you just go, I'll take it on whichever character you like, because they're not going to take it because of Motormaster. I like the 2 damage, but on the one hand, we've got cards that can stop this, and on the other hand, we've got other cards. We've got Plasma Burst, though admittedly it has no icon. Okay, so what about if you've got a tank out? Choose one of your characters. If it's a tank, your opponent chooses 2 cards from their hand and scraps them. This is the bit of the card that excites me quite a bit more. Because now, ladies and gentlemen, we can start working on a little bit of a hand disruption deck. Now, we don't have a huge amount of hand disruption decks per se. We've not got a huge amount of cards that do that. But we do have Rapid Ascent. When you put it on a ranged character, your opponent chooses a card from their hand and scraps it. Bearing in mind, a bunch of tanks are ranged characters, which means you could potentially play the pair of them. General Megatron, we mentioned earlier, is both a tank and a ranged character. So that could be kinda fun, I suppose. So potentially this can be used to make a little bit of a hand disruption deck. Play a bunch of Rapid Ascent and play a bunch of these and maybe we're going somewhere. Of course, a lot of the best tank decks are full blue and this has an orange icon, so that does hurt that plan a little bit as well. I like this card, but I see it kind of like Team Up Tactics, in that both of the effects are fine, but I don't see which deck is actually gonna be playing it all that much. I do think this does potentially lead us down the route of a tank hand disruption deck, and that makes me rather happy. Outside of that, not loving it too much, but maybe we should try making a tank hand disruption deck and bring in a bit of a profile. We do need to start doing some more deck profiles on this channel, so, you know, maybe that might be a place to start. As it is a decent card, make no mistake about it. I worry that the plane effect is a little bit too easy to work around. But then again, how many decks are going to play Captain Ironhide or Motormaster or some other card that can stop them? Maybe not enough. Having said that, even just letting your opponent choose where the damage goes can be enough to make the card a little bit bad. I do like Squish 'em like bugs, however, and I think some decks are going to go nuts with this. But I'd like to know how nuts you plan on going with it. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk about games, like Transformers and a bunch of others. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.